I'm Michael Clark. I live in East Hampton. We currently are in the hamlet of Wainscott. We're at LTV Studios, and I am the executive director here at LTV. At the end of 2019, I was just starting here at LTV. 2020 came along and we heard all the rumors about the possibility of things, taking place far away, and, you kind of just brush that off. It's pretty interesting that the pandemic pushed us along in the plan and made us do it a little bit differently. Let me give you an example. We used to do the government meetings over in town hall. We had to find a way to do that remotely. So again, this is all before the pandemic started, and so we had a plan to do that. We had to bring fiber into this building, and then the pandemic came along, and we were like, like everybody else, well, this will be a good dry run for us, because this is going to last, 2 weeks? And here we are 2 years later, right? We do have the role of bringing information out, to the public, but I don't think it was we weren't relying on that much. People have the impression that, LTV was, kind of like the between two ferns kind of public access. People really had no answers. There was a lot of, if you remember, bad information out there. People didn't know where to go for local information. On Channel 20, we started producing a show called Facts at 5, every day, 5 o'clock, and we'd give them live updates on what's happening with the pandemic. We would go to the state result pages and pull out all the information or news stories happening locally. We would present them every day at 5 o'clock, and that went on for months during the beginning of the pandemic. We had to find a way to keep the government meetings working so that the local government could stay open, because there's guidelines that they have to follow. David Lease, who was over at the town board, worked very closely with Jason Now, my broadcast engineer. This isn't a type of thing where we just go on a shelf, pick out a new product, and put it together. This was, let's grab a little from here, let's do this from there, do this from there, and it was just done on the fly, and it hadn't been done before. So it was pretty interesting and pretty scary, actually, whether or not, the local government was going to be able to continue to do the things that they were required to do from the state mandate, plus the fact that everything was changing each time. At that time, there was only 3 of us in the building, because like everybody else, okay, close the building, open the building. It was just me, it was Jason, and it was somebody else named Morgan Vaughn, who used to be the executive director here, was actually here as a consultant working with me because I was new to the business, helping me along. She was only supposed to be here for a short period of time and ended up staying, right through the pandemic. So the 3 of us were working in this building alone. Everybody else was working remotely. Then, just to throw, a monkey wrench into the operation, about March 31st, okay? Now coming up on 2 years, I had a stroke right here in the building. They took me out of here in the ambulance. So now it's 2 people. The hospital itself was, they were incredible, but it looked like a MASH unit, like it was, it was tense and everything. Nobody comes here. I'm laying there. Everything worked out with the stroke. I, went through physical therapy and got my ability to walk back and to talk back and things like that. And but that left Jason and Morgan here. So Jason calls his wife, Chrissy Sampson, who works for the East Hampton Star. Chrissy comes in, sits in for me, takes my role at Facts at 5. But it was a really good example of people just coming together and doing what they needed to do on the fly. My broadcast engineer, Jason, he was actually called in front of the State Assembly in New York to talk about what we did here. Because people are like, how did you do that? We actually got phone calls from Zoom asking us, how did you do this? Jason, I love the guy. He's on another planet when it comes to the technical stuff. It's like he's talking to me and sometimes my eyes will glaze over because he's so deep into what he's doing. he's got the ability to see things in a different way, and I makes him sound like a superhero, but in my eyes, he really is. Because of what we was able to accomplish. Recently, we got recognized by Peter Van Scoyoc and the town board for our contributions in keeping things moving during the pandemic. And, they gave us a little certificate and said some nice things about us and whatever. And, we have not closed ever in this building. 24/7, 2 channels a day. Throughout the pandemic. It was nice after the fact to have someone come along and say, hey, thank you for everything you've done. And it makes my team feel really good as well. The pandemic not only redefined the mission of LTV, but it redefined all of us. I think we have a greater appreciation for each other. We have a very small team here. So we have a greater appreciation about what everybody does, the different hats that everyone has to wear, the different jobs that they do every single day. And when the team gets fragmented, when you have part of them home, part of them here, you realize, oh my God, I didn't realize she did all that stuff. Now that she's not here doing it, or he did this and they're not here doing it, it's like, it's a real reality check. I would have to say flexibility. We've had to, I remember when they were telling us to wash our lettuce with soap and water, and we believed everybody's doing it, so, and then the next day it would change, and it's still kind of like that, a little far between now, but okay, you got to stay 8 feet apart. You got to stay 6 feet apart. You can't breathe. You can't wash your hands here. You can't use an air blower. You can't do this. Oh, now you can. Now you can. I think we, as humans, we had to just be flexible and, roll with the punches. And, it's resiliency, but it's flexibility as well. Because, if you're not willing to change, you could lose your mind in all of this. And, I think that's, was the biggest takeaway for me.